Morning. Welcome to Casa TexPina. We're on build day number 36. This is Monday morning. I believe we already had a delivery truck show up. I saw one go by the house we're staying in, and we'll check when we get out to the site. We did leave early on Saturday, so I've got to check up and follow up what happened after I left on Saturday. I believe they poured a couple columns, so we'll check on those as they get the forms pulled off and see which ones they're going to be pouring next. Yes, I was right. We do have a delivery. Looks like the 5-inch hollow block has showed up. Give me just a moment. As we get a little closer, I'll swing it around and show you. Yes, and they are pulling off the forms. As I'm coming around the street, I can see it. They're pulling off the forms where they did the columns on Saturday afternoon. Here we go. I'll go ahead and swing it around and you can see. So yes, we have more hollow block, and they're already doing the chipping of the the columns so that they're all ready for plaster coat and mortar. Yes, these are the 5-inch. Notice they are a little bit thinner than our previous batches. And then they're moving the forms as well. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So it looks like we had a little bit of a small blowout on Saturday. Part of it didn't completely blow out, but the form bowed. So they're coming back behind and chiseling until they get it semi straight again, and then they'll come back and plaster coat the rest of it with the rest of the building. So they haven't pulled off the rest of the forms yet. We'll take a look at that here momentarily. All right, while the young man finishes chiseling away they call it a pregnant form. It bowed, so it's got a big spot in the middle, like a overweight person with a big belly. So they're chipping away. Okay, let's go look around and see what everybody else is doing. Looks like we mixed some concrete. We can go see where they're pouring that, and they're making forms for the additional columns. Again, we're got a delivery of blocks. Morning. Ilan? 2.8. 2,800 blocks today, the 5-inch. And yeah, these are still a little green. They will need to be watered on site for all the way until they're used, and then some after. Great view of Araya this morning. She's got her head in the clouds a little bit. Brother Edmund's over here moving fill material. Morning. So we're still making forms for more columns. This is Marvin and Alex. And they're pouring Creed already early this morning for some more of the columns in the master bedroom.
For some reason the original audio didn't pick up during this section. What I'm going over here is the fact that while they're doing the chipping, I was under the impression that they're using very wet concrete, and we've still got good aggregate all the way through the concrete. It hasn't segregated. So actually I'm very surprised looking at this. We got a good mix of aggregate, cement, and concrete all the way through, even with using a very wet mix.
So we got two deliveries going on this morning. The one that just showed up is the pre-sifted sand in the large truck on the left, and the long truck on the right is the 2,800 pieces of 5-inch hollow block. That'll be used for all of the interior walls. They're going to dump the pre-sifted sand right here next to the garage. That way the site crew doesn't have to haul it in buckets from one side of the site to the other or across the street. It'll be a little quicker and easier to use when they're making concrete and mortar. So I'm gonna shift this over to time lapse and let's see it. Alright, the sand ended up getting dumped a little faster than I thought it was going to. I was trying to do a time lapse and it really only wasn't but 5 or 6 seconds of time lapse. But the sand got dumped out in the street. Our subdivision's very particular about building materials being out in the middle of the road, so unfortunately some guys got some shovel work to do. And the rest of the 5-inch hollow block is, we got some here, and some on the other side of the house, so they don't have to carry it from one side of the house to the other. Alright, it's after lunch. Let's go take a look around the site real quick and see what everybody's working on. First off the bat, you got Mr. Manny up here. He's putting on the additional stirrups so we can go up to the roof level. Let's walk around and look at some more. Okay, looks like Mr. Ruffy is getting ready to make some either concrete or mortar, probably mortar, because we got a whole big batch of sand in this morning. And we've got our 5-inch hollow block, which means all the interior walls can now be placed. So they're also working. This is Mr. Oliver has been working with another gentleman, and they're building the forms for these two columns here this morning and this afternoon. They'll continue. Get away from the noise and keep walking and talking. Okay. They're still forming the columns. Mr. Alex there is working with Mr. Marvin, and they're building the column form. This is around between the kitchen and the hallway. So between the kitchen and the guest room hallway. Mr. Jericho, who we saw kneel down there just a minute ago, right here, is assisting them, but he's also been working on the exterior walls. Looks like Mr. Orley is making stirrups. Mr. Jojo is over on the other side cutting forms down, or making forms. These guys, this is Mr. J and Mr. June, are bringing in some of the new 5-inch hollow block that we had delivered, and they're going to continue with the interior walls at some point. So it looks like we're pouring concrete into the column right here. This is one of the columns on the garage. So this side that I'm looking through is actually the window from the maid's room, and we're looking through, since there's not a wall there, to the garage. This column is one side of the garage, this column is the other side of the garage, just as far as the entrance. So they're scooping the concrete into buckets. taking the buckets to the guy, taking it to Mr. Marvin up there on top, and he's pouring the concrete down the hole, down the chute. Almost to the top. You can see when they're pouring in the concrete, some of the paste is coming out on the sides where the mortar gaps were. It's okay, it's going to fill in the holes. This is all going to tie together and blend in. Alright, so now they're pouring the corner of the kitchen, between the kitchen and the great room. So continuing on, same procedure as before. Pour it, rod it on occasion, and when they're done they'll go back and hammer both sides. So this is just starting. They're going to be all 5-inch block. So he's got 6-inch block on the outside edge, and then once he moves to the inside, so the outside edge here where he's starting will be 6-inch. As he comes down the sides, those will be 5-inch. Good afternoon. That's the end of Casa TexPina build day number 36. What they get done today, they had a lot of deliveries. We had 2 trucks of sand. We had a large truck first thing this morning of 5-inch concrete hollow block, so they're going to start the interior walls, which actually Mr. Jericho started this morning and wrapped up this afternoon with the closet space for bedroom number 3. He got the first 4 courses done on that initial layout. They poured 4 more columns. So they formed them today and poured the additional columns. They're starting to work their way around the house. We had 2 that were in the garage and bedroom number 2 that on that north wall. There was 2 that were in the kitchen area, and that was it for fifth one that was on the southwest corner of the master's suite. So that was 5 columns done today, formed and poured. We'll pull the forms off of those tomorrow morning when we come in and see how that turned out. The columns that they poured on Saturday, they pulled those off this morning, the forms off this morning, and the concrete looked really good, with the exception of one that had a bump in the middle. The form didn't completely blow out, but it did bow. So they went back and chipped it back to the right dimensions and left it. They left it kind of rough, a rough finish. They'll come back later and plaster coat it with the rest of the building. That's about it today. So if you like today's video, please give us a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more of these videos, hit the subscribe button or the Casa TexPina star in the bottom right hand corner to be notified when our next video is available for your viewing pleasure. Hit the little bell icon below the view screen and you'll be notified. Until then, have a great afternoon and God bless. Thank you for watching. If you liked today's video, please hit like, subscribe, and hit the little bell icon to be notified when our next video becomes available.